Hello, welcome back to the Land Rover, and today we're under the back of the car, right at the very back, and we've got a bit of a frustrating job here. This is a brand new drive shaft. Went in, probably went in about a year ago, but it's done the grand total of 53 kilometers since it's been installed and since we did the test drive, and we have a split boot. Perhaps I installed it wrong. I hope I installed it wrong. Either that or it's extremely poor materials. I don't know, perhaps I overstretched it, but it was the boot for the back drive shaft. So we're going to replace this. Hopefully it's going to be a relatively straightforward job. I don't want to take both ends off. I just want to hopefully take this end off, slip it down a bit. There's a bit of give up on this end as it goes for a chassis rail. Hopefully we can just undo these bolts, drop it down a bit. We can slide this off, tidy it up, put the new one on, slide it back and put these bolts back on. That's the plan anyway. These bolts are the locking nylon nuts, so you can't just crack the nut and then just undo it. You actually use spanners on it all the way off, and there's limited space in here as well. So probably going to be a bit of a pain, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, 53 kilometers, and it needs replacing. Hopefully it was me, but anyway, we'll crack on. We'll get these nuts undone, and then we'll see if we can get this off in a pretty easy way. I've got a replacement. I did get a different brand, so yeah, possibly it was the rubber, but yeah, let's crack on. The bolts are off. I've undone the clips on the boot. Yeah, really split all the way around pretty much. Don't honestly know how that happened, so we'll just take these bolts out, and hopefully this drive shaft will just drop down, or drop down enough anyway to allow us to take the two pieces apart. Hopefully. Yeah, it does. Oh, look at that, something is actually working for once. So we've slid the brake, this boot off the other end. Down this end is a screw cap, which is what stops it from coming further forward. Trying to remember now when I put this together, it's been a while. Either way, it didn't work whatever I did. There we go, this end comes off. I mean, there's grease in there. It's not like it was she was unhappy. To be honest, I think it's just the boot was unhappy. There we go, and yeah, that's the screw cap. Again, there's a cork gasket in there by the looks of it. That's all nice and happy. Yeah, there's the main split there. There's 4 splits coming on each one of the bellows, so perhaps I stretched it too far. Don't know, but yeah, we'll confine that one to the bin, and we'll get the other one. So we had the new one. I just put a bit of grease on here. The grease nipple's on the other end, or the grease, and for the grease, but there was grease in there, so she was all happy. I'm just going to cake this thing in there. Now we've got to get this new gasket over the top. Not the new gasket, the new boot over the top. Never an easy thing. I'm going to persevere with this. I've put some grease on there just to try and help it get over. It's always tempting just to use whichever tool you have nearest with you. I've done it before. I've used a metal screwdriver and then made a hole straight into the new boot. So lesson learnt there. Just grease is probably the easiest. Alright, I've put that on. I'm not going to put it over too far. I think last time I may have put it too far along the shaft and overextended it. I've put it just past the lip. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll stick the other end on. I've got to do up the that retaining of the screw end, which is somewhere in this greasy mess now because it's Ah, it's a messy old job, this one. Perhaps I've made it messier than it should be, don't know. And I fished around in here. I've got that screw retainer back. I found that all the way packed inside at the end. So we'll just screw that one up. Absolutely cracking design, this. How you got to do hats off to the people that originally designed these things. I guess now we just copy what they did. But yeah, this is an awesome design. Just tighten this up with a rag so I'm not slipping around. There we go, that's this ring tightened up. Just put a bit of grease around here. And we need to extend this now, which wasn't too hard. Just going to tighten up this end, this retaining clip. You know, I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I normally start these jobs forgetting to put gloves on. And about 10 minutes in, I'm covered in mud or whatever fluid I'm working with. And then I think, stuff it, too late. But the hands are not too good at the moment after doing that with 2 hours of brake bleeding and brake fluid all over my hands. It's not good for your skin, brake fluid. And so now I'm just going to pry this one in this end. This one's a bit smaller, I don't know why. But we'll pry the rubber boot into there so we can get a nice tight on the other side. There we go. I haven't stretched this one as far. I think the last one went to about here. So yeah, perhaps I just overextended it, and as it was spinning it made it crack. So perhaps it was a me problem and not a boot problem. That's what I hope anyway. So yeah, we'll just tighten these up, and then I'm going to get a socket on here just to make sure they're super tight. I don't think the screwdriver's making them tight enough. So we'll tighten that up, we'll get a screwdriver on there, then we're back to putting the shaft back on the diff. So not a bad job, assuming this works. We'll be looking about 20 minutes all up. So yeah, that's pretty good. Nothing like rolling around the floor under a car for 20 minutes. But yeah, going well so far. Just going to tighten this up with a socket or a spanner just to make sure they're nice and tight. Put this back on with the bolts, line it all up, and we'll just put some grease in here. Just pump some in there. So there's a bit more grease. I mean, there's grease everywhere. It's going to last for 100 years now if the boot stays. So we'll do that. We'll tighten these up. We'll put this back on. We'll bolt it all up, and we'll see how it is. You know, it's funny. A bit earlier on, I said, this is turning into a bit of an easier task. 20 minutes. What then happened is the clip that came with the kit and the screw adjuster basically came off of this end and started to screw around this end, so that clip's dead that came with it. And the other one, yeah, it's a bit too bent as I've taken it off. So we are done as much as I'm going to do for now. I've got to go down to the hardware store, get another clip for this end. But anyway, the drive shaft's on, she's all bolted up. I think what I did do, I think it was a me issue, I stretched this boot too much. I put the clips, it was down to about here, I think, so it was probably a me thing that caused it to break in the first place. But anyway, that's done. Assuming this hadn't have broken, probably about a half-hour job. All that, to undo these bolts and drop just this end down, keep the gearbox end or the handbrake end connected, undo, push this back, undo the screw retainer, take this end off, slide the old boot off, put the new one on, Jubilee clips or whatever they're called, back up, bolt it back on, and you're done. But I broke this in the process, so just got to buy another one. Anyway, if you find these videos useful, please do hit subscribe. I've got a couple more jobs to do before we get the roadworthy. I'm just going to bleed the brakes again. There's a bit of air in there still, I think, so we'll sort that out. Bit of a fuel leak, I think, on this tank, looking at all of this. So yeah, we'll see what that's all about, and then that's it. So fingers crossed, we are a couple of weeks away from getting the roadworthy done on this, so we can take her on the road legally without having to buy all these insurances every now and again. And yeah, not too long. Thank you very much for watching. Hope these are useful, and hopefully we see you on the road as we're going down to get the roadworthy. Thanks for watching.